was a member of Labour Party, we did not envisage such a situation, and I warned them beforehand. If you don't tackle this on time, such a scenario can emerge. The root of the crisis is in the fraudulent organization of a purported national convention in Nnewi, where people fraudulently allocated posts to themselves and came out and started raising their hands that they are the members of the National Working Committee of a national party without election. By their own admission, there was no election because they said all of them came out unopposed. What other thing do you need to know that there was no election? Have you seen an election of any party that garnered up to 6-point-something million persons and the entire National Working Committee members came out unopposed? That is fraud. Even INEC was not invited according to law, and that was why INEC disassociated themselves from that purported convention. And even when INEC disassociated themselves, you saw the way those people that were claiming that were disgraced, and they went to court, and eventually the Supreme Court said their regime has come to an end, and if your regime comes to an end, you go in peace and leave the party alone. And the party constituted a caretaker committee, which is the only legitimate leadership of the party. But you are dealing with an INEC that has become a department of APC. Can you imagine an INEC that disassociated themselves from Abure, disgraced him out of their office, and the Supreme Court has now sided with INEC that Abure is not the legitimate leader of Labour Party, and INEC is now telling you they don't understand what the Supreme Court interpreted. An INEC that was represented by a son in that judgment is telling you they need time to understand the judgment of the Supreme Court. You need time to understand the judgment that was given in your favor as a supervisory organization supervising the political party. You were the first to disassociate yourself from an Abure-led leadership. Now Supreme Court has disassociated itself and the courts from Abure-led leadership. You are saying that you need time. Do you know what it means? First of all, the judgment of the court is an interpretation. And INEC is saying they need time to interpret an interpretation. What a shame. The whole idea of court is to make clear the wordings of the law. They have done that explicitly. And INEC is feigning ignorance that they did not understand what the court said. And they need time to interpret the interpretation. Is that not enough to sack everybody there for being grossly incompetent? They know what the court say, but they are waiting for order from APC to decide what they will do with Labour Party, because their intention is to frustrate all the opposition parties, to bring opposition parties to disarray, so that they will not form a viable platform to oppose APC that is now their paymaster. They know that the Supreme Court has given a judgment. First of all, the judgment of the Supreme Court is final, and it's not supposed to last more than 24 hours before it's obeyed. And look at an organization that is paid by the taxpayers of Nigeria, spending months, and yet has not come out categorically clear to make a statement as to who is the leader of Labour Party. Professor Yakubu is the worst thing that can happen to any country in terms of electoral management, in terms of managing the electoral body. Just look at that, the judgment of the Supreme Court. A professor is telling you he does not understand what it means, with all the lawyers that are being paid. You don't understand that the Supreme Court said that the judgment of the lower court that recognized Abure as the leader of Labour Party is hereby set aside. You don't understand it? What is confusing about it? You don't understand the fact that when you rejected Abure, Abure went to court and used the court to force you to recognize him. And even in your portal, you said Abure is the national chairman of Labour Party by order of court. And court is now removing such tag from its head. And you're saying you don't understand. The court said, no, you cannot use the court to force yourself on Labour Party. That's what the court said. And you're saying you don't understand it? No, you do. But your incompetence and the corruption going on in INEC will stop people from doing the right thing. What you're doing is that you want to make all the opposition parties to be in disarray, to pave way for a smooth run for APC in 2027. And let me say this. This is not to exonerate the opposition parties from blame, because you cannot bring ant-infested wood into your house and not expect lizards to pay you a visit. So all these lizards from INEC, they are paying the opposition parties visits because they brought in ant-infested woods into their house. You have to put your house in order. Can you imagine Abure and his thugs doing everything against the law? And then the other members just looking at them. In Labour Party, there are no elected members at the ward level, at the local government level, at the state level, at the national level. Abure appointed all of them in Nigeria. Have you people been invited for any congress in Labour Party since you started working in New Central? You can contradict me if I'm telling a lie. What kind of party is that? So, a party deserves the kind of leadership that it is looking for. So in 2023, Labour Party was available and the vehicle was used, and God blessed them with such a wave. But you see, only good character can sustain any of such wave. It has been blown into smithereens. So I want to tell you that INEC is playing the script of APC. Simple. Because the judgment of Supreme Court is very clear. How can somebody go to High Court, win a case, and you, the INEC, called him back based on the order of court and he stated it, went to Court of Appeal, won the case, and Supreme Court gave a contrary judgment, and you still say you are thinking? That's a shame. They are not thinking, they are corrupt. It's as simple as that. They are living in disobedience to the rule of law, disobedience to the Supreme Court judgment. They should be tried for contempt of court. That's what INEC should be tried for. But the judgment is very clear. Senator Nenad Usman was the appellant, and the Supreme Court gave her judgment, said your appeal is meritorious, and you're saying you don't understand it. Abure had a cross appeal, and the Supreme Court said it is unmeritorious, and you're saying you don't understand it. What don't you understand? No, they do. They simply are waiting for APC to tell them what to do, because INEC under Yakubu has become a department in APC. That's why Nigerians must rise up if they want their will to be established in Nigeria. They must enforce their will, because election is the expression of the sovereignty of the people. The sovereignty of the people, their will is expressed through elections. And if they allow themselves to lose that power to choose their leaders, then they will be ruled by tyrants and dictators. So Yakubu knows what the Supreme Court has said. He doesn't want to obey it because he's in cahoot with APC. In my own opinion, Labour Party as presently constituted is not viable enough to prosecute a presidential campaign. I know what we saw in 2023. You could see, you couldn't have agents in all the polling units, even in Abuja, even in Lagos. And that was how our election was stolen. When we had such a wave, we couldn't defend our votes. Is it now in 2027 when the wave is even ebbing, is even going down? The only choice the Labour Party has is to join the coalition unconditionally. Because for me, they are not viable enough to prosecute a presidential campaign. I know what it takes, having been a presidential spokesperson, to prosecute a presidential campaign, and Labour Party as presently constituted cannot go it alone by whatever name called. So their only option is to join the coalition, and then if they join the coalition, they will be able to get a better deal for whoever is coming from there. But for now, they can't go it alone. They go it alone, they'll fail it alone. And not only Labour Party, any other opposition party as presently constituted, PDP or Labour Party, cannot go it alone because they are practically non-existent. And I'm saying vis-a-vis the ability to conduct a presidential campaign. PDP, Labour Party, they are practically non-existent as a party that can effectively carry on a presidential campaign.
In the words of Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo, Labour Party as presently constituted is not viable enough to prosecute, or I would say carry out, a presidential election, especially because of what happened in 2023 vis-a-vis what the current situation is, which now brings us to the big question. What exactly is the coalition planning? Is there a grand strategy behind the scenes? Let's take a look at what his response is.
Well, coalition is an alliance for combined action. The coalition that is emerging is not a coalition of Atiku and Obi. It's a coalition of the willing, the coalition of men of integrity in Nigeria who have seen that the ship of Nigeria is being voyaged to Armageddon, and they are coming together to salvage the situation. So it is not a coalition of Atiku and Obi. And then one thing about coalition is that it operates in the collective. People come together and bring their ideas together to achieve their desired objective, which is the security and welfare of Nigerians. So the issue of platform is being discussed, and it is when those things are settled that you begin to say who are interested in aspiring for any position. And it is when those people now appear that you begin to talk about who will be your candidates. For now, you secure the ground before talking about the maths. There is no coalition of individuals. You have coalition of Nigerians for a better future. So the issue of Obi running with Atiku has not arisen for now in the coalition. The issue of would they run under any platform has not arisen because we have not chosen any platform. When we choose the platform, then people that want to run will signify interest, and that's when you begin to talk about the combination of any politician.
To shy away from speaking truth to power. Well, Kenneth Okonkwo also talks about the APC possibly taking a swipe as well, like he did, and criticizing what he describes as premature campaigning ahead of the 2027 elections.
Very notorious in desecrating the rule of law in Nigeria. Campaign by the Electoral Act has not started, but they have started. I don't know what endorsement means if it's not campaign. He said he has not declared his interest, but he is saying that they should sweep all the other parties clean or thereabout. And he is acknowledging the endorsements, changing administration to campaign, rather than checking where he has failed to know whether he can make amends for the next 2 years. They are indulging in campaign. APC has been an endorsement machine from northwest to southeast to everywhere. Endorsement. They are trying to know who will endorse more. flattery of sycophants and admiration of fools, not by my words, but by the words of Richard Steele. And I repeat, Richard Steele said that when you commend someone, add your reasons for doing so, because that is what will distinguish the approbation of a man of sense from the flattery of sycophants and the admiration of fools. Whoever is endorsing this government for the inordinate killings, deaths, destruction of innocent lives and property in Nigeria is doing it standing on the graves and blood of the innocent people that are massacred every day. That's the flattery of sycophants. That's the admiration of fools. You can see in Nigeria, borrowing, going on, using it for nothing. A president gathered the whole governors, gathered the whole press to commission 30 kilometers out of 700 kilometers of road in Nigeria. What is the percentage of 30 out of 700? Not up to 1%. Not up to 1%. Because when you talk about 700, 10% is 70, 1% is 7. So you're talking about 3% or thereabout. It's a shame. Honestly, these people, they do things that will make you to begin to ask whether whoever wants to be a leader in Nigeria should not go for mental test. Because you will not have any other explanation to certain things they do. So the issue here is that we are in a country that is in dire need of new leadership. And the coalition offers the best alternative to this leadership. When the platform is chosen, we would look at the available aspirants and choose the best for Nigeria and move on.